Hello everyone, the title of today's episode is The Eternal Return to Existential Flow. And before I begin, I would like to share a quote with you that I just feel I need to. It has come to be seen. The quote that I would like to share is by Dogen Zenji, if I'm saying that right. It's a very wonderful quote, and the quote is about Buddhism, but I would like to share some new views, so Mr.Within's views on this quote as well. The quote begins by Dogen Zenji saying, "To study Buddhism is to study ourselves." And you can totally see this being was asked by someone who wanted to really know from him. And he says to study Buddhism is to study ourselves. To study ourselves is to forget ourselves. And so, if we were to wonder what was occurring in the eyes of such a being, we would begin to see that he may have been sitting on his chair, looking at the being, asking him about Buddhism, and with a very omniscient experience of silence and stillness just turned into a gaze, suggesting that man was beyond what he saw. When your existential sensitivity here shifts, you begin to see that when he suggests to study ourselves is to forget ourselves. In your study of how your life is here, you will begin to see what has kept you individual. And as you observe that individuality, the observance is always in a collective state of being. It's an observance. It is not formed. It is aware of form. And hence it goes through the formless. Now, if we were to, with great respect to Dogen Zenji, to interchange the word Buddhism with life, we would see that to study life is to study ourselves. To study ourselves is to forget ourselves. As you, as an individual sense of I or personality or certain someone with a name, looking into what you are, you begin getting a consciousness that is observing a past that never had to even keep a present here. So you begin to see the fragility of the human construct based on how ideas have even developed to bring language to where such a talk is being had now. We observe that it's like this being, this monk, this ape stood up, and as it stood up, it gained such a self-awareness that it saw that it was just raised from the ground. It saw how all its ideas on its truth was part of how direct vision was within itself, its own clarity. You see, we think there is something wrong, but there actually is nothing wrong. For wrong and right is within the dualistic sense of consideration of how we are constantly trying to make things survive. But what great ideas and great leaders and great speakers have taught us is that your voice is an eternal one, that some ideas projected here can be seen in such grand ways. It's as if this ape is no longer an ape the minute it could see the same experience within all aspects, all forms in its reality. Once every human being became a glimpse of humanity, when every active life was one action, when your moment was the truth, and so all beliefs were simply passing, like the river of this temporal nature of form. For some men watch their grandfather die to then learn from dry leaves being pushed away. And so, is there a reason for what happens? Well, tell me, is there a reason for reason? The turner will turn to existential awareness. Is a very huge phenomenon. We conclude many things to then see how interpretation is hollow when order is shaped out of chaos. And so if man was to visualize an eternal return, it would be such a reunion in direct experience that you were an able and very responsible being of all that is a moment of communication, existential communication, that is you. You become the totality of your being by seeing that you have always been. Total in the eyes of the limitless sky. Your guidance will come when you have remembered who you are. If you're wondering why the intensity of your reality is not working, it's because you have not remembered who you are. You have not dived so deep within your eyes to look and see what is behind the abyss of abstraction. You begin to see that reality is simple. The simplicity is the truth. Forget the complex beliefs. Run to the heart of man, for that is his greatest temple. That honest moment where he allowed life to be life, regardless of his conditioning. For then the compassion that blooms is one of great vision. It is as if the world has spoken and you have jumped right off the tongue of the cosmos, through many sounds to have meaning now. Your ability is in your knowing of how existentially able you are. And that means if I were to ask you right now, can you go out in the middle of the street and tell everyone your most absolute core truth? And if you can't, then you still not have found yourself. But the minute you can, you will begin to see it was never about everyone else. You only needed one audience. And such an audience is you. You have observed yourself from day one. You love yourself, for that is why you survive. It is not survival of the fittest, for the reason we want to be fit is because we want to then learn how to love. We want to be in a state to love. And so you see, the minute human beings had stability, many of them stopped fighting. The natural world, unfortunately, will cause imbalances in the psychology of man. Greed is a natural thing. Just again, like the crumbling of leaves. It's just that the greed must not destroy the most valuable and efficient technologies. And for man, some of them, it is his nature, both the nature of his being and his humanity, and both the nature of the land. And so it's as if we it is no longer a picking up the trash type of situation. It is a situation where you're recognizing that the human future is a very interesting one. It is suggesting one where nature is in a battle with a social development that is forgetting it. A cultural development that is forgetting it to some degree. And at the same time, you're seeing the nature, the natural world of humanity is also, in a sense, being taken over. Many people are moving towards simulated ideas in regards to seeing that in our future, robotics can replace our limbs. And what happens after it has replaced the whole body? Would the mind of man have never been here? We must, as human beings, alive beings, understand that we are not here to fight the enemies that are here. Do you know? The enemies of our present moment are that our children will fight them. We are here to fight the enemies of the future. And we are, in a sense, again in this war of nature, where versus nurture, but in regards to habits that too have stemmed out of natural design. Mankind must become aware that he must take more existential responsibility than just being a body. You are a moment of experience. Acknowledge yourself. Your body is an aspect of your moment of experience. And as the experiencer is present, it then is moving and navigating through direct experience. What that means is you no longer need beliefs or ideology or someone telling you to go do something. You navigate based on your intuition, based on your feeling of where you must be driven towards, by the knowing of the halls that are waiting for your greatest works to be done. To study life is to study ourselves. To study ourselves is to forget ourselves. To forget ourselves is to have always been here. With the grace of a transcendental existential comfort, allow your moment to be in the presence of this great artwork of a life you have lived, and your awareness to all aspects. For your memories are here to remind you that you are a memory of starlight. Denied by no limitation in abstraction, there is a chaotic urge for the order to be reshaped, for the order to be reintroduced, for all orders to be recognized by the natural law that is in the cosmic scheme. For man was never here to plan too much, but to observe the life beyond belief. For once living and being are the same, there is no belief. You will remember yourself in a way where you will begin to see no idea has to be where it is, for you instantaneously have an ability of a new moment to hear something new. You must cherish the divinity in your novelty of experience. You must cherish the ability that you have to explore the unknown abstracts of your mind. For we are not humans lost in a game. We are beings found in lights, profound and clear. As man rises above, there shall be no below to fear. Your moment is your gift. The eternal return to existential awareness. Was the breath of the seer. You know your vision of greatness. You have known it from the beginning. Trust me, the streams of consciousness that come to guide an sincere and compassionate being are profound. You will begin getting contemplations and recollections where immediately the sense of collective consciousness will not let you ignore externality, and will in a sense give you an understanding that as you handle one dimension of activity, in that same moment there is infinite suggestions of presence. What that means is that in an instant, the distance between my fingers and the distance between the branches of that tree have become home to a valley of an ark that would inspire Noah if there was no sea. You are guided by your ability to see an able life. Take yourself home by seeing that you are home. For with the blessing of our greatest warriors, man always fought for peace. Our inspiration is a transcendence. That remembers nature's seed. Blessed by the eternal return to existential awareness. You are the future in your present. Allow this life to guide you. Accept it in the totality that it is trying to communicate. Suffering is simply a phenomena in this life process. Acknowledge it, but also give yourself the creative space to recreate yourself in a new manner of understanding, new modality of being, new sense of feeling and being alive. For the thinker does not want to sit on that rock with his fingers on his chin for too long. The thinker wants to remember where causality had begun. And so, as one goes within, they experience presence. And presence is beyond personality. So you have no self-talk, opinion, or idea, but you're simply being alive. And you begin to suddenly feel your breath and your lungs, and you feel everything in your moment. And it's as if the moment is always the grace of our higher understanding. No longer in pieces. Every step of man has always been basking in peace. When serenity blooms, you have always been free. Much blessings. Namaste.